Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Real to Real. This is a podcast where we have real convos, real people. Today, I'm so excited because I am joined by Maryse Emmanuel-GARCY. Let me tell you, this woman wears many hats, okay? I'm just going to share a few today. So, she's a licensed social worker, she's an author, and she is the co founder of Hafali, which is a nonprofit community based organization based in Long Island, New York. So, everyone, welcome Maryse Emmanuel Garcy. Hi, Maryse.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. So, I'm so excited. You are the first contender on Real to Real. So,
Me
welcome, welcome.
too. Me too. I'm happy to be here with you.
Excellent. So, one of the things I wanted to do today is, as you know, tackle myths and stereotypes on this podcast. And today we're going to talk about the infamous myth women's happiness depends on marriage. So, happiness depends on marriage, Maryse. What do you think this we've come up with this thing?
I I think when you hear that woman's happiness depends on marriage, this is something that as a woman, as since we were young girls, we were brought up to think like that's the only way as you grow up to get married. And also you think about we grow up in with the examples that we had, the men's had all the authority. The men's were like our fathers, and even though the mothers were doing a lot of the work, they were not counted the same way, and they were
Hmm.
Mrs. So and so. So I think that's where it came from. The way we grew up, what we observe from generations. It's not. It wasn't new. It was generation from generation, and especially in our culture and I'm saying in our culture, but there are many other cultures we come to find out that's the way women were was expected of a woman. You were
Mm,
born to be married, and that's how you're going to be happy. And that's what we,
absolutely.
that's how we grew up thinking that way. So we aspire from day one, and to do that. And as I'm saying this to you, I remember as a young woman, I was like 21. We don't even know who we're going to get married. Most of us would be buying, preparing. I forgot how we used to call it. You're preparing your what you're going to need when you have your house.
Oh, gosh.
Before you
Yeah.
even know who you're going to get married, you're preparing yourself already. It was so ingrained in us.
And as you're saying this, culturally speaking, I think of the infamous movies. See, I'm 80s born, 90s raised me. When I think of 90s movies, you think Cinderella, the damsel, she had to be rescued by a prince. You think of Beauty and the Beast. You think of Snow White, right? Where she had to be waking up with a kiss. I think that was Snow White, right? um and so all these movies, whether it be Disney or like fantasy movies, even like when you think of earlier romance comedy movies like the one with Julia Roberts, what's the name, Pretty Woman, right? It's like all these movies and all these fantasy earlier shows depicts kind of like, in order for a woman to kind of thrive or be well or be happy, she has to be rescued by a man. She has to be, her story has to end in marriage for the story to be like a beautiful ending type of situation. So I don't know, your generation, were there movies like that?
It's not just the movies, all the images that
Mm,
not only we living with our mothers or grandmother or aunties, that's what was expected. You're watching them how they do it, and you don't yet understand, but it's like unspoken, but
mhm,
confirmed. This is the way you're going to be happy, and all the images. And when I'm saying when I was younger, but as we get older and we go into school, the images did not change. What you hear on the radio did not change. What you hear in your you see you would see in your environment did not change. So we were brought up to know the only way you're going to be happy is getting to that goal, that vision of being Mrs. So and so and being married. And it wasn't questioned. It wasn't
mm.
something we questioned earlier.
It
And
was
at the
expected.
same
It was
time,
expected.
I remember you may have had feelings and wonder about it, but it wasn't spoken. We were not talking about it.
Yeah. You see how now, women are getting married a little later, 30s, 40s. I know earlier generations, like my mom, for example, 20s was the standard. If you were past 25, it's almost like it was too late. So, do you feel like then there was like this preoccupation with the age to get married?
Yeah, I think exactly. There was an age. I got married when I was 22,
Mm-hmm.
and it was normal. You finish school, you're able to again. And I'm saying that when I said finish school, I was already in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still about, I'm going to be working. I was already working, but in general, you finish school, you get married. When I
Yeah.
said finish school, whether and when you compare it to, you get an associate degree if you were in school, or if you just get your high school, you're ready to get married.
Wow. Yeah. Whereas now it's kind of like, this is too young. This is absurd. If someone were to say they're 18, 19, ready to get married, it's not commonplace,
No,
you
because
know?
now the woman may be, and I'm saying the young girl may be thinking about, I want to do this first. I want to do this first. But
Yeah.
so things have changed. Things have changed a lot. And when I said, and I keep referring to back home in Haiti, and things even there, things have changed. But the bottom line
Absolutely.
still remain, that's the goal for
That
all
is the
women.
end goal. And when you say goal, I keep thinking football, right? Football, Caribbean, we call it soccer, right? But football, you think of the rules of the game. You have to score, and then you become the winner.
That's it. That's it.
And
That's
and
it.
as you say that, it's almost like the goal is for you to win as a woman, you have to be married. The goal is that marriage certificate, right? The
Well,
big wedding, the big, everything. Wow.
yeah, that's the expectation, and like we said, just
Yeah.
like in football, and as you say that, I remember going to a wedding, my friend's wedding, and at the wedding, the cousin
Hmm.
came and said to me, "Oh, she hit it." So
He hit the jackpot.
yeah, it's like she made it.
Yeah, she
You
made
know,
it.
she made
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it was real, and it's still real for many people, to many women, to see it that way, and it's still generational. You could still have a young girl
Hmm.
who's have not questioned this, and so that's why I saw my parent did it. That's why my auntie did it, and it's expected. It's still the unspoken um, myth
Yeah.
or expectation.
Hmm. How do you think this myth impacts those women that's not married or that's don't even want to get married?
Um, I think it affects women in so many ways.
Hmm.
For different reasons, some women have decided that they would not get married, and some maybe it just happened they don't get married. But once that happened, it can make the woman feel like I'm less than, I'm
Yes,
not complete,
that's right.
something is missing,
That's
and
right.
something is wrong with me. And
Right.
that affects the woman, really mentally, that mindset, that
That's right.
expectation. Within the family, you will hear people say, "What are you waiting for?" They don't have
Yes.
to finish the sentence. You know what they mean.
Yeah,
When are you going to bring somebody home?
that's right.
So just imagine you may have a young girl in her 20s or even in the 30s who's very successful, but with those questions, it gives you a lot of doubt because you're not complying to that pressure, or for
Yeah,
whatever reason, you haven't found a prince charmant.
that's right.
Okay? Like we said,
That's right. That's right.
yeah, the
And you
secret.
bring in some great point because, and I was thinking the same thing, a sense of incompleteness, a sense of guilt, a sense of shame. And a lot of times what I realize, especially with some of my girlfriends, is like, going back to what you're saying earlier, it's not only the goal. So if I'm not within that goal or on the path to that goal, then something must be wrong with me. right? And then that develops in itself some mental health challenges like anxiety, depressions, and even to the point where you thinking like maybe suicidal thoughts, because you're like, all my friends, which is another thing, you then start comparing yourself to all your friends or family members that's getting married, that's moving on, so to speak, like kind of like you're moving up the ladder, right? Just like in corporate world, people are climbing up that ladder to get to maybe management and things of that nature. It's almost like in life for a woman, if she doesn't climb to that ladder of marriage, she hasn't made it. She's not successful.
Yes, it can become an internal struggle in spite of the appearance of success
Mm-hmm.
for a woman. Because like we said, it's still generational, and between the family and society, this pressure is on. You're 30 years old, and even when the people will say your clock is
Ticket.
ticking,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, yeah.
Meaning you need to be married to have a child, and you're not married. So how are you going to make it? So those are real.
Yeah. And some women then rush into a relationship because they thinking I want to attain that goal. So they either rush into one which they know that maybe not is not even the right relationship to be in, or they stay in one. How many times I've met, friends or even clients where they're like, yeah, I've been in a relationship for 6 years, 10, 15 years, but they do this, they do this, but hey, at my age, you know, am I going to get better? Or I hope to get married with this person one day, despite the red flags. You see what I'm saying? So I think it leads, myths is one of the things, as we're discussing here, is definitely leading to poor decision making for some people, you know?
Yeah, because that bring what also it brings when a woman is not married, the way the expectation and what it's like you're missing something as your social status.
Yeah.
Something is missing, and even if and like it was expected the man is going to take care of you, so economically you may still be doing great, but you don't have that status, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's what is socially accepted. So, and you have to remember when we talk about that, how it came all about when maybe in the past women were not working. The man was the main
Right,
provider.
right. Yeah.
So even though that may change, a woman that is of a certain age or is not married is still being seen like something is missing.
Yeah.
And I really want to accentuate that can affect the woman's mental health.
And yeah. And sense of self worth.
Yes,
You see
self
what I
worth,
mean?
definitely. Self esteem is can be damaged. It takes a lot.
It takes a
I
lot.
can see from working with women of different background,
Yeah.
the conversations are always like heated, and sometimes the woman may reconcile with these, or sometimes it with some kind of guilt and shame.
Yes. It's almost like, what's wrong with you? Especially if you go to weddings. Oh, when are you gonna get married? Oh, you're not married yet? What are you waiting for? It's almost like, marriage, you're just gonna walk down the street and you could just go to a grocery store and pick out, same way you pick out groceries, you can pick out a man and be like, okay, I'm gonna pick this one, and that's gonna be my person to marry. This is so weird. So, but I'm glad we're having these
And
discussions. So can marriage be a source of happiness, you think?
is marriage a source of happiness? I would say definitely.
Yeah.
Marriage can be a source of happiness, but that's not the only way to be happy, for a woman to be happy.
Yeah.
Uh, we have to remember that happiness is not a one size fit all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like you have to be at the altar. And it's something that you can build every day. And it's great to be married when you have the right partner.
Mm-hmm.
The partner doesn't, like it can complement you, but it doesn't complete you.
Right.
So having a right partner, it's really a great, it's a gift, it's a
Yeah.
bonus. for a woman's happiness. Yeah.
I
So
definitely agree. Marriage definitely can be a source of happiness. Is it the only source um, that marriage can bring? Absolutely not. In the same way it brings happiness, it can bring unhappiness too. And I think once we expand that understanding that marriage, again, it's not that goal, but it's also can bring many different self exploration. It can bring so many discoveries, self discoveries. And like you said, there's beauty in it. Sharing a life with someone is great. But just because you don't have someone to share a life doesn't mean that it's not a choice, and doesn't mean that you're going to be unhappy because of that choice. So it's definitely important. And I know, Marius, you've been married. So can you kind of talk about how?
I was married. I
Yeah.
was married for 16 years,
Mhm.
and I have been divorced now for 30 years.
Okay.
Yes, and I will still say marriage is a great life if
Yeah.
you can find a partner. And I still joke around when I say, "You never know, I may get married again." And some of my friends will say, "What?" Because the way they look at marriage is it's different. They don't understand it. And
Mhm.
I don't remember the exact verse in the Bible. It says, "Men wasn't." When I said men, I mean men and women wasn't created to be by themselves. So I will
Mhm.
think of it even in a different term. Having a partner is having or having a significant order is it can be helpful. You're not
Mhm.
isolated. You have somebody you can share your
Exactly.
life with in so many different ways. So that's why I said it definitely. Even my experience of being divorced, and I have to say, in my case, asking for the divorce, that's another chapter. We may have to
That's
cover
a whole
another
other thing.
day. A
That's
woman
right.
asking for a divorce. That's let's make it real. Yes,
Let's
that's
keep
an
it
issue.
real there.
But
Yeah.
I still say marriage can be a great source of happiness, but it's important for a woman to understand if you find a right partner, that woman, that man can complement you, but not complete you.
That's
You
right.
already whole on your own.
Yeah.
Yes, and
And you
and,
already
and
know.
definitely.
Yeah. You already know for me, I mean, marriage number 2 here, and the first one we had to wrap it up because there was no happiness. It was, lies. And as women, especially of Caribbean culture, there's such a stigma, not only not married, but then the divorce part. And so, for me, it was a learning experience. And it was also, if I keep it real, like I jumped in it because there was the expectation. Like, you're a certain age, you need to be married, you need to have children. And so to me, it was like, okay, well, he fit and checked some boxes. So why not? Deep down, I knew it shouldn't have been the case, but I went ahead anyway. And so the exit was great. And now here I am in a relationship that is beautiful. And does it have its challenges? Absolutely. Do we want to pull each other's hair out at times? Yes. you know, but it is definitely, it can be a source of happiness. So we're not
So
here.
I would add to is that when you don't conform to society's timeline in terms of
Yeah.
being married, that's some women may rush into a marriage,
Yeah.
and then it's create more than it doesn't give you that happiness. So
It doesn't.
again, like I said, if you have the right partner, a healthy partnership and deep connection
Hmm.
can really enrich a person's life for the
Absolutely.
woman and for the men. But when the marriage is seen as a something you must do, it's like a
Yeah.
requirement
Yeah.
for being happy. It can become a trap
Yeah.
rather than a free choice.
Absolutely. It's almost like you voluntarily cage yourself up only to fit the mold of what society expects you to, or even your family expects you to. And I think we all should have the freedom of choice to be in a relationship or not, to be married or not, to have children or not. And I think the whole, even having the children, that's a whole other topic in itself. But I think we should start changing the narrative of how we approach women. Because we're talking about women today, but it could be men too. But how we approach women with those conversations. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the man was saying, he went to a wedding with his girlfriend, and at the wedding, he said, I don't know how many times people, friends and family was coming up to him to say, "Oh, when are you guys going to get married? When are you going to pop the question? When are you going to put a ring on her finger?" And he's like so frustrated hearing that. He had to turn to his girlfriend. He's like, if someone, one more person, asked me this question. And so I think it's not about the when, but really maybe, do you want to? You know what I mean? Hey, do you want to get married? And start kind of having those types of conversation. Because when we start saying the when, it's almost kind of like if the person says never or I don't want to, then it's automatically like an X on their back. And it should not be that. That's when I think judgment comes in, when we start framing the questions like that.
But when you said to ask, for the woman to ask herself, do I want to?
Yeah.
The woman is so conditioned sometimes
Yeah.
that you might not be able to answer that question.
That's
So
true.
I am hoping in doing this real to real, that may be give some women opportunity to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
When you're making that decision, what does it mean for you?
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about being happy, it takes more than one person to make you happy.
That's right.
It takes different. And when you said that, I remember I was having a conversation about, I think it was about marriage many years ago. And I says, you know what? It looked like we would need 6 or 7 husbands. And everybody laughed, thinking I'm talking about, they didn't get it until I start saying,
Polyamory or
no,
something.
we can't put all happiness into one person.
Yeah.
Meaning that a relationship you have with a husband, you're lucky if you find at least 3 aspects that works with that one person. But having friendship with other men, other women, can complement all that. So that's what, like, it's important for a woman to say, what do I want? What is my goal, my own goal, based on how I grew up and where I see myself,
Yeah.
and the expectation, that what you expect, not what is being dictated to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Yeah. I want us with Real to Real. One of the things is whenever we wrap up the segment, is really to kind of demystify that original myth or stereotype. So in this case, we're looking at the myth women's happiness at single marriage. But how can Maryse, can we restate this myth and turn it to a realistic state?
I would say, based on many things that we said already, that we feel we are taught we're not going to be complete until we're married.
Yeah.
And I would say we can be whole on our own. Yes, we can. Like I mentioned before, a partner can complement you, but you can be whole. And they will say, oh, you have to find a good man to save you. A woman can, I would say, a woman can build a beautiful life. If love comes along the way, that's a great bonus,
Yeah.
not a rescue. It's not a rescue, okay?
Love it. Yeah.
When they say, oh, that will save you. Okay, yeah, it's a great bonus. And also the myth that marriage is the key
Mm.
to a woman's purpose. No, your purpose is not like when somebody put that ring and take you to the altar. The purpose is in you. It's within you. Okay.
Yeah.
I would encourage every woman, even if you're married or not married, try to understand that it's already within you. And if you, and again, one we mentioned before, if you're not married by a certain age, that timeline that society has for you, something is wrong. There's no deadline on joy.
Oh,
There's no deadline.
I like that.
Okay? I'm 72. And when I joke about, and I mean it, if I meet the right person for where I am right now, I would get married again. And my mother would say, I would not be surprised because
Yeah.
she knows me. But I'm saying that to say that wisdom came a long way.
Yeah.
And it came a long way in being uh, okay with who you are, in developing your self esteem, in accepting your imperfect being, like we said, the being imperfectly perfect,
Yeah.
okay? In accepting your strength and weaknesses, and that's very much part of it. So that's what I says. All those myths, those, and when we said myth, people will say, "Oh, there's some truth in it." I think it's for each woman to evaluate where am I, and
That's right.
find out where would I like to go. And that answer may not come right away, but asking the question and working at it will be helpful, and you can get to your own goal. You
Yeah.
make the but, like
It
we
ma-
said the other day. It's the but. When the
it's the
goal
big
go,
goal.
everybody
Yeah.
scream.
Yeah. And
You
and
hit
and
it.
like you said, Maryse, at the end of the day, some people will think that it's not a myth and that women's happiness does depend on marriage. And that's perfectly fine if they feel that way. But I think it shouldn't be just a singular mindset. There's many, many sides of a dice. And so it's important to kind of look at things in its totality. And I appreciate you saying, there's no deadline on love. And you saying that even at 72, you're not saying, "Oh, I'm looking forward to being married
No,
again." You're saying, "But if
but
you
if,
do
if
meet
it if
someone
it
and it's a
comes,
divorce, then you'll welcome it with good hands. If it doesn't, you're not going to feel like you didn't accomplish something in life, less than, just because most of your friends do have marriages. But then you ask yourself, are they really happy in their marriages? Even though they've been in there 20, 30 years, are they really happy? So that's
but
what,
I have to add, even after being
yeah,
married for 16 years and having 3 children and
yeah.
being divorced, how many people will ask me, when are you gonna get married again? To them,
Oh,
something is
God.
missing. You know, I
That's
give
a
them
good one.
women. I have given them some great answers.
That's a good one. See,
Yeah,
you're not married. When is it are you going to get married? When you get divorced, it's like, hey, when are you going to remarry again? So
yeah.
everything is framed around that angle of,
Right.
the myth. Women's happiness depends on several factors and not just happiness. And I would say the primary two for me would be a woman's happiness depends on her sense of self worth and self esteem. We all know the most important relationship is the relationship with yourself. And if with yourself you're not content, then you're always going to find that a relationship completes you and that happiness is found externally in somebody else or something else. And so it's important to be comfortable. It's okay to take breaks between relationships to figure out, what is it that I like? What is it that I don't like? What is it that I see myself or envision myself in the near future? 6 months, a year, 6 years, and then base your decisions on that and not based on decisions on what my parents may expect of me, what society may expect of me, and what maybe my friends may expect of me or my social circles. And so I think this is very important. Woman's happiness starts with the self. And I always use that example. When you're on a plane and they do the safety
Mm-hmm.
exercise and they tell you if something happens and your mask comes down, well, guess what? They don't say turn around and put the mask on your husband, your child, your family member. No, they say put on the
You
mask
first.
on
Yes.
yourself. Because if yourself is not oxygenated, is that a word? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you got oxygen, okay, you'll be more equipped to help the person sitting next to you, to your left or to your right. And so it's the same thing with life. If you're not content with yourself, then you're always going to be dependent or codependent on other things, like maybe a spouse, for example. Yeah. Marie, do you want to add before we do takeaways?
Um, I will say again, I'm saying thank you for the
Hmm.
conversation, and I'm hoping that it will help uh, any woman, young girls and women, to reflect whether you are married or not, and that can help you evaluate where you are and to see what are the myths and what's real for you.
Mm-hmm.
And self-worth, your self-esteem, personal growth is important to help you balance life, to give you what we call happiness. And happiness comes in different ways. And you can be
Absolutely.
happy by yourself. And if you get that bonus to get the right partner, go for it. All right?
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Any final words for women out there that's either in a marriage or maybe seeking marriage from a woman of experience?
Any final words?
Hmm. For these
No, like
women.
I said, and I'm saying this, I would invite men
Hmm.
to hear it, to hear the webinar,
Yeah.
because we're talking about finding the right partner. Men and women have to grow. It's
Yeah.
normal at different, the same way we develop, we are teenagers, we become young adults, we become adults. The same way mentally, uh, we have to have some mindset change
Yes.
to be able to adapt to your new learning. And certain things life will teach us to you if you are ready. Life is a great teacher, but you
Absolutely.
have to be ready to hear the messages. And I think this Real to Real podcast is one of the little tools that we can use,
Yeah.
okay? To be real.
Absolutely.
That's
Because if you're
important.
not real with yourself, then you're walking around with a mask on. And if you're walking around with your mask, then that means you're not fully living. And so it's time to unmask, it's time to keep it real, and it's time to have those, like I say, comfortably uncomfortable conversations, right? And like you said, love and matters of the heart, there's no deadline, there's no goalpost, it's not a race. It's literally like, kind of like, I would say, a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're taking your time through the different seasons or the different phases of your life. And so, love is beautiful, but loving yourself is even more beautiful.
Number
And
one.
so, yeah. And so I'm excited to have this platform to be able to, invite different guests as yourself, Maryse, to, bring different perspectives to people and to really break down those myths and stereotypes. Because at the end of the day, whether it's a myth dealing with worldly understanding and worldly beliefs, or stereotypes that deals with, a false narrative, false beliefs based on a person's culture, ethnicity, age, or gender, they're all false beliefs at the end of the day that we somehow adapted or adopted into our consciousness as truth. And it's not. So we're breaking those down. So, Maryse,
Thank
OMG,
you.
thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for
Okay.
chatting with me today. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. You were gonna say something?
No, I said until next time.
Oh yes. I'm Thamousca, and always remember, always keep it real.
Real.
A bientôt!